Hi, James. You can do
Hey, how you
a
doing?
video call here, can you?
One
We got some
sec.
pretty heavy feedback going on here. Thank you for being with us. Why don't I call you right back? We'll try it again. Pick it up as an audio call.
Okay, audio call
Yeah,
and then share screen.
yeah. James, how are you? Thank you for coming to our community today.
Yeah, I'm doing well. How's it going
Okay,
there?
I don't know what you're talking into, but it sounds like you're in a tunnel. We'll go ahead anyway. I'd like to start from the beginning, James. How did you get started in the business? What was the catalyst for you beginning to trade financial markets?
I mean, my father did it a lot when I was growing up, and I mean, the beginning is probably as uninteresting as anybody else. I was just buying high flyers in around 1995, 96 options. I got into maybe a year or two later. I didn't actually start making money probably for another 10 years.
Okay.
And
Self-taught?
when, yeah, just a lot of books and a lot of just doing it over and over and
You know,
over.
I'm interested. When I was reading what you sent me, not many people talk about Babson. And I'm interested if you could show us your charts, what your setups look like using Babson. In fact, wasn't Babson famous for calling the top in 29 with a 3% break in the market in a 1 day period being labeled the Babson break? And that is a sign that
Yeah,
the party is over.
yeah, that wasn't the first that he identified though. There was one, I believe it was in '07 or 17. It was one of those, but pretty much the same thing. I mean, he just called the top. I mean, and all it really is. Do you have my screen up right
Yeah, I
now?
see a boat.
Can you see?
Nice boat.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's a Sunseeker 73 right there. That's
Is that your boat?
no, I've got a 55. It's about two-thirds the size of that. Let me show you this. Let me show you this Nasdaq chart. I mean, because really all it was, Babson. I mean, all he really did is he basically just identified a slope trajectory. And so this Nasdaq 240, for example, this is Paul Coughlin's charts. Him and I do a lot of stuff together. He's just better at this stuff than I am as far as the
Who's
analysis
that?
goes. Paul Coughlin.
Okay.
Uh, but I mean, if you see here where we bottomed the other
Yeah.
day, I mean, it's sort of coincidental that it's right in line with what we had in May. I mean, it's just physics. We get overbought here, drops down. Then you get the new floor right here. You get the new floor, new floor. You get the ceiling here, raised ceiling. So if we do hit this as we did, I mean, I would say that's a golden buying opportunity, and that's really all it is. And you could pretty much run this on anything. If you look at this is the ES monthly. I mean, which is questionable still. I'm expecting probably another retest up to here. I don't think the thing's done yet. This is a monthly chart. So I mean, we're talking like it works on the 240, it works on the monthly. Here's the ES daily.
Yeah.
Right now, it's kind of a sketchy period because we're retesting what has been support,
Right.
but now as resistance. So, I mean, unless we can break through this and come up here and bounce off of this, I wouldn't be, I'd be
So it
pretty.
looks vulnerable to you. That's Custer's last stand, and that line that you drew after it broke the green line. How did you come up with having a channel line there out of nowhere, anchored only on that low, based upon?
No, I drew it after the bounce. I drew it after the bounce. I mean, that's not predictive at all. I mean, you wait for there to be evidence.
Right.
Like for example, it would have been the same as when I had this, and we came back. And why would we just stop there? Why would we stop on the same line? I mean, it's for some reason it works. I don't know why it works, but I mean, you can run this stuff on. I can give you the 30-year treasuries. Let me see what else I can show you.
What's a look? What's a look on the 30-year Treasury? Because I actually think
Treasury.
I think we're peaking here. What do you think?
I haven't looked at it by week. Let me see. We've got two slopes. It looks like here.
Yeah, you got to get me out of the way.
Dale, there you are.
Okay. So it still could have some more upside.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be putting big money on a short until, you know, I would draw a sliding parallel from this to right here, and I would say that we'd probably get some resistance right there. And I mean, I wouldn't be really doing any trade until that. I mean, there's a dollar index. Let me see if I can show you some currencies. Let's see what we got here.
So what are your views coming into today after that initial downdraft we had last week in the S&Ps, and the dollar's been strong? Are you in the bullish dollar camp?
Well, I mean, if you look at this pound, for example, I mean, I actually just bought some pounds about an hour ago, and I mean, you've got this horizontal. A lot of people happen to they watch the horizontal, but what's interesting is you have as far as the dollar goes, I look at this pound. You see how here we have a ceiling right here, ceiling, broke through. So this right here, I've been keeping my eye on right here, this one and this one. But then when we came back down, now this is the ceiling. So I would expect a lower floor, you see. So what I would do is I would just take a line and draw the distance between here and say here to start with. And I mean, it's in essence a phase shift. So I would take the old floor, which is probably around here, and we broke through, and it's the same distance, and it happens to be horizontal support. So for me, it's a good buying opportunity. I picked up some at 68.30 about an hour ago. I posted that on the blog site.
And what was a floor is now a ceiling at that green line up there around 71 ballpark. Is that a new ceiling? What is kind of like the argument of old support becomes new resistance? Well,
I mean, within context of the slope, I would assume that this will be, you know, I mean, this should hold as a new ceiling. I wouldn't think that we get any farther than this.
Okay, but that does allow for a new high after that initial red line pop that you had equal.
Horizontally, yes, horizontally speaking. But within context of the slope, yeah, I mean, I would expect this right here, this high to hold, because I mean, that's the way Babson would have looked at this. I mean, this is the high, not necessarily this or this. It's not really about numbers. It's about sort of the reactions between within the context of the slope. Let me show you this Mexican peso, this Australian dollar we have here. I'll probably buy some Australian dollars if we get down to this line here. Just we had some good action along this line here, broke through.
Do you teach this method, or you're basically just trading for yourself? And you did
no. Well, what it was is that Paul taught me this method starting about maybe 2 years ago, and what happened is I added this to my other trading tools, and now it's my primary tool. And Paul was teaching it, and it was, you know, like a few $100s a month or something. And I was just talking to him a lot, and he just said, look, I'm just going to pull the thing off. So I mean, as of like a month ago, he closed it to new members, and that's it. We're just trading it with no, it's not being taught anymore. Except for the people that are already members, but as those people fade off, you know, he's basically going to kill it.
Okay. So what book would you recommend if people wanted to learn this technique? There
isn't anything. No, there really isn't anything out there. I mean, you've got Babson's normal line, and you had a guy named Andrews, Dr. Andrews, you know, the Andrews pitchfork.
Oh, okay.
And then there's modified versions of that, you know, with this Ensign software and I think some other software. But there's nothing really. I mean, it's kind of just something you kind of have to do. You just have to do it. And like here's the Russell 2000, for example. This has been a really, really great chart. Let me see. Close this down. Oh, this isn't my main one. I don't have some lines here. But this slope worked really great. And then when we came back, you see how we tested this?
Yeah.
So we had support.
So that's what I'm saying. Old floors become new walls or ceilings.
Yeah, and I mean, like those are always the best shorting opportunities. I mean, like to me, if you're into shorting an uptrend, you know, which I do on occasion. You know, I mean, you can't get better.
So maybe another trip up to that blue wall.
Yeah, but you see how this, like within, so I mean, if I had a sliding parallel from here to here to here, this is lower than this within the context. So I would expect, like I'd be willing, especially fundamentally right now, I would love to take a short right here. You know, anywhere in here, this 12, if we would make it, but I just don't know fundamentally if we're gonna hit anything like that right now. Here's the ruble. The ruble looks, I mean, for some reason, I mean, like fundamentally, I would say that we are,
wow.
You know, we haven't hit any sort of, but this is saying that the ruble's kind of oversold here.
Yeah, it's been getting pounded, and now it's up against some major resistance.
Could be, yeah. I mean, this isn't really a proven fork, but we've got some good action here, and we came and we bounced off of this. You know, so to me, you know, I'd be looking at taking a short there. I mean, if I had to make a trade on it.
Anything you're looking at commodity-wise? Either commodity currencies or the gold came to life this week. It's been acting pretty good.
Here's corn, for example. This is corn. Wow. It's a downtrending, you know, so it's kind of hard to get long, but I actually bought some because, I mean, it's just getting silly cheap. I bought some about, I don't know, maybe 5 days ago or something when we hit this line. I posted that on that site, on Paul's site there. So you got oats. I put on an oats position. This is a daily. Ray, when did we put on that oats position? It's like 2 months ago. I think it was like right in here, somewhere. We put it on. Yeah, it was in June. We put on an oats position. That was posted on the site as well. Wheat is just pretty much. I mean, you see like exactly what we're talking about. We had the old support,
right.
And now, I mean, so I don't know how wheat's going to go much lower, but I mean, if wheat does get pounded, I would expect corn not to be too strong either. Here's crude oil. Crude oil is
into a support.
This was a beautiful. This was a beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this was a beautiful entry. I took a little piece of this, but I mean, I didn't. I had no idea it was going to tank this hard. I mean, but I mean, so you know what I mean. I wouldn't mind getting along here, but once again, you got a lower ceiling here than you do here. So if I were to take that trade, I wouldn't expect much more than like. I mean, if it got here, I would definitely go ahead and take the profit on it.
Okay. So maybe a little bear market rally in crude back to 101, 102. What's this? Cocoa?
Yeah,
cocoa?
Cocoa, yeah. Cocoa's been really good.
You're bringing me back in my time machine of when I was a commodity broker. Yeah, you know, when I was young, they used to say, beans in the teens was the war cry. And it took decades for it to happen, but it did happen.
Yeah, we got nothing in them. Cotton's just off the cliff here. Maybe something on the weekly. That's the daily. Yeah, the weekly. I mean, every time frame's just falling through. I actually lost some on the cotton about maybe 3 months ago. Cocoa has been good. Coffee was good earlier in the year. I'm not sure what it's doing now. It's been too messy for me. Sugar, I think, is going to be in a new uptrend. I mean, because you've got the sugar chart was really good as a downtrender. Let me see. You've got yeah, and you see how we had resistance here. Resistance, messy. Yeah. Came up. This spike and this spike, new slope, and it happens to be perfect Andrew's pitch for it. Yeah, so I would expect. So I mean, what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to draw in a sliding parallel right here, and I honestly I think this is probably the bottom for the sugar. I mean, if I draw a line here, we've got this because we had a retest and we're up about 2%. Well, we were now we're up about I don't know. 0.5%.
Yeah, higher low. That's higher low. That could be pretty good.
Yeah, so I would expect this to be the floor of a new floor. Honestly,
and that's something I remember when 4-cent sugar was a floor. Now we're talking 16.
I mean, look at the difference. Like, look at the space between this and this. Yeah. Okay, and now look at the space between this and this. The whole thing. It's like a phase shift. The whole thing just shifted from this being resistance to probably this being resistance going forward. And a break above this, of course, would be really bullish. that I would expect to come back to find this as support. And then you're looking at like, 26 something back, out like maybe a year from now.
So you play breakouts on pitchfork. So the middle line on a pitchfork, above it's a breakout.
Well, it depends on the sliding parallel within context that slope. I mean, so here, boom, 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 and I would expect action. I would expect resistance here. I mean, like this line doesn't necessarily mean anything. This is just sort of, a lot of times you'll get a lot of action at the median line for some reason, but I mean, you get median line action here, but now the whole phase is shifted down here. So so this to this to this is the same distance as this to this to this to this. So it's the same thing. It's just basically you have a lower median line, I guess. So I'd be getting long sugar here. But if we broke through this, yeah, I'd be out of the thing pretty quick.
Any look on the euro? I know you have a positive look on the pound down here. What's your look on euro? And then we'll go with one more for a wrap up, and maybe you want to show your website where you're providing signals, etc.
Yeah, once again, these are all Paul's charts. He does all this analysis. I mean, he's the analyst. I mean, I just basically trade this stuff. This is the weekly euro. There's a speculative uptrend here. I mean, if we get if Putin gets crazy, we get if we get a like a real war, I would expect I'd be buying the euro here. But I think yeah, but I'm not saying it's going there. But I mean, look, here's a ceiling here, messy here, but then we came back and hit this same line from here, which makes me think that this downslope is going to be more valid than this new speculative upslope. So I mean, if we did come down, I mean, I would expect to come down to here, but I would expect some action to be right here. So if you want to take a short trade, like a quick 1 or 2 day trade, I would go long euro like right in here. I mean, personally, I'll probably take a small one there.
30, and that's around 32.75.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens this week or next week, yeah. But I mean, like the farther you go out, I mean, it's always changing.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll show you the yen, and we can wrap it up. This is the yen right here.
Okay.
And
what happens? What happens if we break out through the upper wall up there, the upper channel? Is that? I
mean, trading wise, I would expect. I mean, I would wait for us to come down and retest this as support, and then I'd be getting long. Personally, that's what I'd be doing.
Okay. You want to show the website?
Yeah, I've never actually pushed it anywhere. I've only been putting my trades up there for the past.
Yeah, last couple of months, you're up 30% last couple months. Maybe.
Yeah, since June, right? Here you go. This is the website. He has a bunch of services that he offers there. Coughlin, yeah, and this is the service that I run here. I mean, I trade everything, and sometimes I want to do a trade for a week. Sometimes there'll be 3 in a day. I do short-term stuff like on the 20-minute charts on the ES, or I'll do it with SPY or Russell's or Nasdaq. Let's see, services, Omni trades, current positions. Yeah, what I'm getting killed on is the sugar. This is a position I put on yesterday, the QQQ calls. And I mean, all I did for this QQQ calls, for example, this is sugar. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to tell you that. It's supposed to be hidden stuff. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on one sec. Yeah, but that's, I'll give you one of the trades I did. It was, that I put on yesterday, the one that's up 25%. All that was the first chart that I showed you, which is this NASDAQ.
Yeah, and it came right off that support line.
Yeah, NASDAQ right here. All it was this. I just basically bought it because it was in with this, and I bought QQQ calls, and I'm still in that position, and I'll probably close it if we hit up, say, here. But that'll be make maybe 250% on it. I mean, the trade I put on Twitter a few weeks ago, I made 375,000. That was I only used 200,000 for that trade. I mean, it's like, I mean, if you catch these at the right point, you can do pretty well. I mean, and you can get out if you need to, like here. I mean, it just gives you a good exit strategy. If we dip down to say here, I would get out and lose maybe, 15%, but the upside potential is just, huge. The risk reward on this stuff is it just works better than anything else, really. You know, that's all I can say about it.
Okay, well, you have a very interesting demeanor. I wish I was as relaxed as you, James, and really the first time anyone has showed us this kind of work in our community, so thank you for opening our community's eyes to a different method. I appreciate your time today, buddy.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot. Anytime.
All right, have a great weekend. Good hunting.
You too. Bye bye.